What is going on, Guardians? Ember here with another one for you. Today we have our first build of the final shape out, and I waited for those exotic class items to come out because I knew they were going to cook, and I was right. On my first drop, I got this insane Osmiomancy's Swarmers pairing, and it is truly remarkable to say the least. Before we get into this build, head down below that video, absolutely obliterate the like and subscribe button. Let me know if this is the kind of content you like to see, and without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so this build right out the gate destroys everything. It's so easy to use and your survivability is insane. Let's briefly just go over everything that we have here in the character screen, and we'll go over everything in depth in the actual gameplay section. But first off, we have the new exotic Warlock Bond, and this role that I have has Spirit of Osmiomancy and Spirit of the Swarm. So that's Swarmers and Osmiomancy gauntlets together in one, and that is going to be such an incredibly powerful combination here. In our subclass, we're using the Needlestorm Super. Our aspects are the Weaver's Call and Feed the Void. We're using the Arcane Needle melee ability and obviously Coldsnap grenades. Our fragments are Dawn, Awakening, Bravery, Devotion, and Balance. We're going to look at our artifact here. The important ones to note are these ones in the third column, number 1, Elemental Siphon and Threaded Blast. Then make sure you also pick up Radiant Orbs and Shield Crush for sure. And we're using the Rufus's Fury. Obviously a nice strand weapon is going to go very well with this. I'm using the Indebted Kindness kind of as a last resort. I've almost actually never had to use it, but it's such a fantastic weapon, especially, you know, if you have this roll that I have right here with Lead from Gold and Volt Shot. Since I'm using Lead from Gold, I actually have double heavy ammo finders, and that's going to keep our Leviathan's Breath chunking health bars down. And finally, moving on to the mods here, just quickly and briefly going over what we have there, and we essentially are getting a faux triple 100 build here because we're using the Font of Endurance, and I have 70 resilience. So anytime I pick up an Orb of Power, we're going to be doing that a lot. That's going to boost my resilience up to 100. So we have 100 resil, 100 recovery, and 100 discipline, and a very respectable 50 strength still. With those 3 charges on Arcane Needle, we're going to cruise through all of this content. And so let's check out some of this gameplay, and I'm going to show you just how strong this is. I don't know if you understand exactly what's happening until you see it.
Yesterday you said tomorrow, so just do it!
Alright, so going into our aspects on this build, we are using Weaver's Call for the first aspect, and that's no surprise since we're using the Swarmers part of the build here. We're going to be generating 3 threadlings every single time that we cast our Rift on top of any perched threadlings that we have on us at the time. This also is going to give us another fantastic benefit. Strand Final Blows give a chance to perch a threadling. This says chance. I kind of treat it more as almost a guarantee. The amount of times that I've had random threadlings flying out of me when I have not done a single thing to generate them because of this aspect is just stunning. And it makes running the Swarmers part of the class ability there much more worth it, because you kind of feel a little bit let down that it doesn't have the unraveling part of the threadlings, but you're still generating so many threadlings with this build. It's actually insane. The next aspect we're using is Feed the Void. Defeating targets with abilities will grant us Devour, and then our Devour is improved, gaining bonus grenade energy and health whenever we get a kill. So this is giving us tons of energy for our Osmiomancies every single time that we get a kill. Once we have our Devour procced, plus anytime we don't have Devour, if we lose it and then we generate a threadling, that threadling goes and gets a kill, that's giving us Devour, and we don't really even have to think about that. So you basically are always in Devour no matter what you're doing all the time, and that essentially makes you impossible to kill. It's very hard to take enough damage in one single attack that you're not going to be prepared for, or that you can't throw an ability off to the side and get a quick kill from one of the trash ads that might be running around after you. Moving on to our fragments, our first fragment is Facet of Dawn. Powered melee final blows and just getting a regular powered melee will give us Radiant. If it's a final blow, it'll give allies Radiant. Next, Facet of Awakening. Rapid final blows grant an elemental pickup, and this is going to match whatever element you are using. So if you're using Leviathan's Breath, it's going to give you a Void Breach, giving you class energy. If you're using Rufus's Fury here, you are going to be generating a Tangle. After that, we are using Facet of Bravery. Grenade defeats grant volatile rounds to your void weapons, and melee defeats grant unraveling rounds to your strand weapons. And since we're using that arcane needle, that is the main reason we're using this. It's going to give us unraveling rounds whenever we use our melee, and so then we can just kind of go to town on a huge group of enemies after that. Next, we're moving on to Facet of Devotion. Defeated stasis and strand debuffed enemies grant bonus light energy. And because we're kind of just sticking with our stasis and strand for our damage, we're not really going to be moving that transcendence meter as much as we would like to. So having this fragment on is going to help us get that light energy whenever we need it. Next, after that, we're using the Facet of Balance. Rapid light final blows grant melee energy. Rapid darkness final blows grant grenade energy. And that's awesome because we're wanting as many grenades as we can and as many melees as we can. And that's also why I'm carrying the Indebted Kindness in this build here. That's going to give us a rapid final blow basically anytime we activate the Volt Shot perk on it. And so that's just another way we're going to be able to keep our abilities going all the time. Finally, let's take a look at our artifact. Number one, Threaded Blast is going to give us bigger and better Tangle explosions whenever we get kills with our weapon on a Tangle. Like whenever we shoot a Tangle that's generated, it's going to make an even larger and more damaging explosion. After that, another important one is Elemental Siphon. These are going to create Tangles on rapid Rufus's Fury final blows. Just another way to make sure we're always going to have a Tangle up the second that Tangle cooldown comes down. And the final two artifact mods that are very important to have are Radiant Orbs, so that we can get Radiant just another way. I mean, I'm never going to turn down another way to get Radiant to keep that buff timer on us. It's just going to be so strong so that we can just deal a little extra damage, and by a little I mean a lot. And finally, Shield Crush. This is going to give us more melee and grenade damage, and that's just something that I cannot live without, especially on a build like this where we're going to be getting tons and tons of our abilities up all the time, and it's actually insane. And Guardians, after all that, that's going to have to be all from me for now. This has to be one of the craziest builds I've ever made. I love that Bungie put these exotic class items into the game. It's really bringing some life to some seriously powerful builds. Until next time, Guardians, be without form, swift as lightning.